Hey Terry, can
I
you hear
hear
me?
you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I
Awesome.
can. Wonderful. All right. So we have a few listeners on right now, and this is being recorded. So I think we can get
Okay.
started. Uh, Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us for another TSMA Aorta Chat interview as part of Aortic Disease Awareness Month. My name is Adam Ahmed. I'm a fourth year student from CUNY, and today we are very excited to host Ms. Terri Cook this afternoon. Terri is a survivor of both a type A and type B aortic dissection, which she will be speaking about very shortly. She's currently a full-time client service associate with Wealth Managers in Baltimore County, having been with the same firm for over 2 decades. She lives in Timonium, Maryland, with her husband of 22 years and son. Her hobbies include going to Camden Yards with her family, and she is a self-described die-hard Baltimore Orioles fan. So if you will enjoy baseball, please connect with her. How are
I'm
you,
great.
Terri?
Thank you, Adam. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. A little bit of a crazy afternoon, so we appreciate you moving your schedule around. We really
Not at
appreciate it.
all.
Um, so I think just to get us started, tell us a little bit about your story. How you ended up, involved with the Aortic Hope, and just the story of your dissection.
Sure. Not an issue. I will go ahead and start. Actually, with my dissections, I am a little backwards. I actually had a type B dissection in 2011. I had like severe back pain. I thought it was the worst muscle spasm I'd ever had in between my shoulder blades. So that once that was I went to the hospital, and once it was diagnosed that it was a type B dissection, it was medically managed because they had to get my blood pressure stable. My blood pressure was high, and again that was in July of 2011. I was monitored frequently after that with CAT scans, and it ended up forming an aneurysm about 6 months into it. 6 months after that. So in March of 2012, I had a stent put in to stop the aneurysm from growing, and I followed up, and that was done through with a vascular surgeon at Johns Hopkins. And I was following up with him continuously. Everything was fine. And fast forward to 10 years later, August of 2021, I ended up having a type B dissection, or I'm sorry, type A dissection. That was emergent. I had open heart surgery immediately. Um, and of course, I was shocked when I found out that's what it was because I didn't know something like that could happen. I thought I was medically managed with my type B, and that was it. Surprise, surprise.
Very interesting. So you had the type B
Correct.
first. It was monitored. Then you got a stent put in, and then the type A
Correct.
happened. Uh, Very interesting. And were you aware at the time when the type A dissection and you had those symptoms? Did you think that this was a dissection? Were you told that they might be associated? What was that?
No, no. Actually, what happened was I remember it was a Sunday afternoon, and I had just gone to Sam's Club, and nobody carries in just one bag of groceries. You always carry in everything. You don't want to make more than one trip.
Of course.
So I came back from Sam's Club, and I put the groceries down on the floor of the kitchen, and I felt this sharp pain like going up my neck, and like radiating in my ears. And I didn't know what it was. I thought maybe because I was working out a lot at the time, going to the gym, and I had just recently, that Thursday before this happened, I had lifted the biggest or the most weight that I've ever lifted. It was I don't know. It was maybe like 32 kilograms, or I don't remember exactly what it was. It not wasn't like hundreds and hundreds of pounds. I'm only 5 feet tall. I could never do something like that. So I thought it was muscular because of that. And I took some ibuprofen. Little did I know you're not supposed to take ibuprofen when you have high blood pressure. And I have had high blood pressure since I was 28. I forgot to say that. So I thought it was muscular. So I took ibuprofen, tried to take a nap. I took a nap for about an hour or so. I woke up, it was still there. At the time, my husband and my son were coming home from Rhode Island. They were driving. So I kind of didn't want to tell them anything because I didn't want them to worry. So about 8 o'clock that night, when I saw, thank goodness for iPhones and Find Your iPhones, when I saw that they were back in Maryland, it was about 8 o'clock at night, and I called them. I said, "Look, I don't want you guys to worry. Something's going on. I'm going to go to patient first," which is, just, I'm not sure where everybody is, but it's just an urgent care, local urgent care here. So I went to patient first with this. Again, it was still up my neck and radiating in my ears. Had no back pain like I had before because if I did, I would have known that's what it was. They did an x-ray and the doctor looked at me and said, "We see something around your heart on your x-ray. We're not sure what it is. We think you need to go to the emergency room." I said, "Okay." They're like, "We can get you transport." I'm like, no, not a problem. I'll drive myself." So yes, I drove myself.
Wow.
I drove myself because at this time it was still just my neck. And I drove myself. I was sitting in and I didn't think it was heart related. So I just went to a hospital. Oh, thank goodness where we live, we have a lot of big hospitals, but I didn't go to the hospital that specializes in heart because I did not think that's what it was. So I drove myself to the ER and I sat in there for about 5 hours because this was towards the end of COVID. It was August of 2021. So I was sitting in there, I was sitting in the waiting room. Finally, about midnight, the doctor came out. She's like, "We're still not ready to take you back. We don't have a room for you, but let's just go in the side room and we'll talk." Well, as soon as she started talking, and then I was telling her about my history, and of course, I told her about my blood pressure and my type B dissection. She bent down to check my ankles for, I guess, for edema, for swelling. And as soon as she did that, I felt something burst in my back. And I thought, it didn't even cross my mind it was a dissection. I thought I was having a heart attack. I started screaming because it was painful. I started screaming. I was like, "Somebody needs to get my husband," because I was by myself. And I thought I was dying because I thought it was a heart attack. But thank goodness this ER doctor knew before she said anything to me. And what I remember through all that pain, and they got me on a gurney and got me right back. Through all that pain, I remember her saying, "Whoever's in CAT scan, she has to go first." So she knew what it was before I did. So once they got
Right.
me a CAT scan, she's, the rest is history. We know what happened. They gave me medication just to calm me down and get the pain. I think it was I don't even remember what they gave me, but it was good stuff because I felt much better and I was sleepy. And with everyone that has my chart or whatever people use nowadays, my husband and I actually knew it was a dissection before the doctor even told us because we saw it. It came through that the test was, here are the test results. This is what it was. And that's what happened. So I was then they had to send me to a hospital that could do the surgery because we're talking 2 a.m. in the morning now. And I was transferred to University of Maryland and was immediately put into surgery. And they did the open heart surgery, which I think was about 6 hours from what my husband told me. So that's what happened. So in the beginning,
Wow.
obviously, I didn't know what it was because I didn't know that much about dissections that I would have thought it happened again.
Right. I mean, and like you said, thank goodness that the ED
She did.
provider knew right away to get you into the
She
CAT
did.
scan.
I was very fortunate because nowadays, talking to to the community and to everyone that's gone through this, there are so many times that people are misdiagnosed and the ED does not know what it is. I was a fortunate one in lots of ways, obviously.
Absolutely. And when they told you you had to type, or rather, when you checked the my chart and saw it was a type A, did you in your mind knew you were going in for emergency open heart surgery,
No,
or did you think it was going to be a stent like
exactly.
before?
I had no idea that's what it was going to be. I thought we were just going to they were going to have to put another stent in. My husband and I were looking at each other. I said, "It's another dissection. We've already been through this." Of course, like I said, we were shocked it was another dissection, but I had no idea it was open heart surgery. And up until they finally put me to sleep for surgery, I begged them, "Can we do this any other way?" Because I had never heard of not heard of it, but I never knew anyone that had gone through open heart surgery. I, of course, was thinking the worst. I had no idea what was going to happen. And I begged and begged. I said, "Isn't there another way to do this?" And they said, "No, this is the only way to save your life."
Right. I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like to get told that you have this, diagnosis again, but now the treatment for it is something so acute and
Yeah.
rapid.
Yes.
I mean, it's just not something we can really
Yeah.
even
I mean,
understand.
even until
Um,
the last minute, my mom passed oh my goodness, my mom passed in 2016. And the whole time before they finally put me out, I kept saying to the nurse, "I don't want to see my mom. I'm not ready to see my mom. I don't want to see my mom. I'm not ready to see my mom." And they assured me, "You're not going to see your mom. You're going to be fine." So they were right. I did not see my mom. So, but that's one thing I remember. After that, I really don't remember anything.
and obviously, open heart surgery is a very serious endeavor for
Hmm.
anyone. Uh, Going through it, could you describe the recovery process
Sure,
after?
absolutely.
What were things you found helpful?
Absolutely. And the other thing that's interesting to know also, I didn't say my age, and normally women don't say their age, but my first dissection I was 42, and 10 years later it happened and I was 52. So technically I'm still young, even though my son tells me I'm old, but technically I was still young when this happened. So and they were surprised because they couldn't figure out why this is happening to me. But going back to the open heart surgery, not knowing what open heart surgery was and not knowing how to deal with it, I thought it was just like any other surgery. I mean, I've had a C-section, I had my gallbladder removed. So that's kind of what I thought it was going to be like. Yeah, I was totally wrong on that. They immediately got me up in the hospital walking the next day. Once they took the intubation out and I was fine, relatively speaking, fine. They got me up walking right away. And I was actually out of the hospital that was a Monday. I was out by Sunday and I came home. But I didn't realize that there was nothing I could do because my chest was cracked open. I just had this happen. There was nothing I could do because I was so limited. And I basically just had to watch TV or read a book. So the recovery was long, and it was scary. There were many nights I was afraid to go to sleep because I was afraid I was not going to wake up. Um, the other thing was that at some point, the surgery was the beginning of August. Towards the end of August, I went into AFib. And I didn't know that's what it was, but I was like, something's wrong. My blood pressure is really low. My heart rate is really, really high. And I kept calling and calling and calling. And finally, I was told to go to the emergency room again. This time I called 911 and I went to the heart hospital, not the other emergency room. And what had happened was with the AFib, it was found out that the doctor wrote the not the I don't want to say he wrote the prescription wrong, but the instructions that I was given when I came home, the medicine wasn't right. I wasn't You're supposed to be loaded, and I forget what the name of the medication is. That's
Amiodarone.
it. That's it. I was supposed to be loaded with that before I left the hospital, and I wasn't. And then I was taking it, but I wasn't taking enough when I came home. So when I went back to the hospital for the AFib, they ended up having to restart my heart twice because it didn't restart the first time. So they did that, and then I knock on wood, I have never had AFib again, and we're going on 3 years now.
Incredible. I mean, the right now I feel something they always emphasize to us is the importance of clear and understandable discharge
Yes,
instructions, and making sure that all members of the health team, the patient, the caregivers, the family, everyone's on the same page. And
absolutely.
I'm happy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. And that was a big issue. I thought I had everything right. And I even had a big chart on my refrigerator so that my son knew and my husband knew. But we're talking 5, 6 days out of surgery. I'm not thinking clearly. So it was an oversight on several parts. But like I said, it was just caused the AFib for a day or two. And thank goodness I was fine after that. Um, the other thing about recovery that I think is a big thing that people need to understand, that doctors, the nurses, the caregivers of the patient, is the mental health part. The mental health part nobody tells you about. And that was the hardest part. Like I started feeling fine. I was like, this is great. I feel fine. I feel like I can get back to some normalcy, go back to work. And I did go back to work too early. Um, but they didn't tell me about what would happen mentally with me, because mentally it was tough. I am a very independent person. I do everything myself because that way I know it's done the way I want it done. And not being able to do that stuff and having to rely on people, and then not having anybody to talk to tell me what they went through, it was really, really hard. It was very hard. And that's kind of leads into how I found Aortic Hope.
Yeah, I mean, this seems to definitely be a recurring thing where we focus so much on the
Correct.
physical recovery and not enough time on the mental toll that it takes
Correct.
on
And
patients.
the other thing I
Um,
can also say, and I'm not gonna, bash my doctor or whatever, but I only saw my surgeon twice. I saw him one time in the hospital, and I saw him 6 weeks after so that he could say, yeah, she's fine, release her. So that was kind of an issue for me because I wasn't used to something like that. And he definitely didn't tell me about the mental part of it. So somebody, if it's not the surgeon, which I totally understand, you guys are busy, very busy. Somebody needs to know about that to get that across to the patient and the caregivers.
Of course. You kind of started talking about it, but you said you found yourself involved with the Aortic Hope as you recovered mentally. Could you tell us a little bit about your role within the organization
Absolutely,
and how it evolved?
absolutely. So it's kind of an ironic story that I was involved in, that I found Aortic Hope. It was a friend of Karen Anderson, who is the president of Aortic Hope. A friend of hers that was also a friend of mine messaged me and said, I heard you went through this, and my friend Karen had the same thing. She runs this organization. I think you need to talk to her. So I called her, and that's how it all started. And I called her, it was probably towards the end of October, because that's when I was really struggling mentally. Physically, I was okay, but mentally, I was not okay. So I talked to Karen, and we decided, she told me about the organization, what the organization does. I was like, this is exactly what I need. I immediately, found the Facebook page. I friended her. I friended the Facebook page. I did everything to get into Aortic Hope and find out what was going on. I went onto Facebook and joined the private forum. My husband joined the caregivers group because he's the caregiver, which the caregivers go through a totally different experience than the survivors do. It's totally different, and people have to think about that as well, that the caregivers are a big part of this, and what they're feeling is not the same as what the survivor is feeling. So that's how I met Karen. And ironically, Karen and I actually went to the same high school together. We are a year apart in age. We know all the same people, but we did not know each other. But we don't know
Wow.
each other. We didn't know each other at the time.
Really?
Yes. Yes, we did not know each other. Now you would never know that we don't know each other because we're always together. So that's how I found Aortic Hope. And then that was October. Karen unfortunately had unexpected death in her family through November. So it was, I didn't talk to her a lot. And then in December, and this is all of 2021, I met her and Tammy Warner. I met them for lunch, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is what I need. These are people like me. These are people that understand this organization is amazing. This organization, I wish I would have had this organization before this happened or after my first dissection back in 2011. So immediately I knew this is what I had to do. It's kind of funny. I had been looking for a passion because for up until probably maybe 5 years ago, my passion was always my job. I love where I work. I love working for my financial advisors. Obviously, I've been there for almost 20 years. And that was always my passion. But now that I'm a little bit older and I'm getting into the point where, okay, I'm on the downslope of my career. Eventually, I'm going to retire. I knew that that wasn't my passion anymore. And Aortic Hope came around, and that is 100% my passion now. Immediately, I started with the fundraising. Because of working in the financial industry and the securities license I have, I cannot be a treasurer, even though that's like my best thing is money and not dollars. But I couldn't be a treasurer because security license, I couldn't do it. So Karen's like, we need a fundraiser person. So I started doing the fundraising. And it just got to the point where Karen and I were always talking and coming up with ideas. And because we only live like 30 minutes away from each other, we were able to see each other a lot. We included Tammy with that because Tammy lives also pretty close, and it just got evolved from there. And I'm into the fundraising. I do my own fundraisers. I try to get other people to do fundraisers, and I just spread the word. That's the biggest thing. Thank Aorta and spread the word about Aortic Hope, that there's other people out there that have gone through this. And the more you know, the better you are. So that's how I got involved in it. And it's 100% my passion. If I could get paid what I get paid at my full-time job with Aortic Hope, I would do it in a heartbeat. I call it my unpaid full-time job because that's what it is. And I love every minute of it.
Definitely is. And the work that you, Tammy, Karen, and everyone else has put in is really phenomenal in building this group and helping the patients and
Yes.
caregivers It's really phenomenal. Just a few days ago, I was on Twitter and I saw the Think Aorta poster has just recently been translated into Arabic
You're
for
I'm having a
distribution in
problem
those
hearing
regions
you.
as well. Can you
Yeah,
hear me now?
it's muted though.
Sorry about that. Can
I
you hear
can
me
hear you
now?
now.
Does it
There
sound
you go.
okay? Perfect. Sorry
That's
about
okay.
that. I was just saying the Think Aorta poster was recently translated into
Yes,
Arabic for countries in those regions. I mean, the outreach of the message has really just been
it is.
remarkable, and I think it's largely because of the work you and so many others have
It is,
put
and
in.
I love
Just
to see the work because it is amazing, and every time something happens or something's done, what Karen and I always say that well, let me say, I say myself, I am not a good thinker outside the box. I don't think outside the box very well, but I think inside the box really well. So if you're the outside of the box thinker and you tell me what to do, I'm going to run with it and get it done because I'm the inside the box thinker. So it works well, and we've been able to create posters. And now I help out with Think Aorta and go to all the seminars and things like that, or the symposiums. So it is amazing how much has been done so far, even just the 3 years I've been involved.
what a team you guys have. It's really, really
It is.
phenomenal. It's just been a pleasure to watch and learn from all of you at the group. We are approaching the end of the interview now. And I want to be very respectful of
Okay.
your time. But I know this is a Aortic Disease Awareness Month, but as you've shown through your story, through your advocacy, this month is also about hope and the understanding that regardless of what happens, you are in control of your life and your journey. So, just to end, I
Yes.
want to ask you, how is everything with you now? Do you have any exciting plans coming up? What are you looking forward to after this month of September?
Well, knock on wood, everything is fantastic. I am back to the gym 4 to 5 times a week. I do have a few restrictions, and I said no isometrics and lifting. I just have to watch how much I lift. But the biggest thing as far as advocacy is we have to be our own advocate and we have to know our bodies. That's a lot of times what happens that I see people say on Facebook or all these other support groups. You need to know your own body and listen to your body. But it is ironic that we're doing that. You probably picked this month because it's Aortic Disease Awareness Month. And next week, September 19th, is Aortic Awareness Day, the Aortic Disease Awareness Day. And I am actually with Karen leaving on Monday to go to Scotland to attend the Think Aorta UK symposium in Scotland. Her and Ben Udelman were asked to speak at that symposium. And Karen can't travel alone. So we are leaving. We are leaving on Monday. We'll be there the entire week. We come back on Sunday, and I'm really looking forward to it because any time I'm at the STS convention, the ATF, all those conventions, I still learn something as well, and then help translate it into something else to grow the community, to get more people to think about aorta. It's just they're just such amazing events. It's like a sponge. I just take it all in and try to spread it out and use it here as well. So I'm really looking forward to that next week. And
Very
I have to
exciting.
send a shout out also that my son will be 21 on Sunday. I think I'm more excited about it than he is because I can't believe he's going to be 21 and legal. So I had to throw that out there.
Happy early birthday,
Yes.
Dan. That's great.
Yes.
I hope you get to do something fun to
Yes, we
celebrate
are.
together.
We are.
Wonderful.
And mom has to be the
All right.
designated driver.
Yes, yes. That's always gonna be your job now.
Exactly, exactly. Because I don't drink, so yeah, I'm going to be the designated driver all the time. But that's a subject for another day.
That's great. I'm very excited for these upcoming events for
Yes.
you. Happy birthday to your son. And really, just on behalf of the entire TSMA, our whole group, our audience, both students, caregivers, providers, and residents, thank you so much for taking your afternoon with us and really sharing your story and helping to educate
Oh,
us.
thank you, and thank you for the work that you do for us as well. Because I know you get some posts out there, and love to see them because you have the doctor point of view that the medical stuff that I don't know. So, thank you as well, and think aorta and hope always.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. To everyone listening, please be sure to join on in a few hours. We'll be going live with Mr. Tim O'Reilly for him to share his survivor story. Terry, have an incredible day. Thank you
Okay,
so
thank
much.
you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.